I'm Sean from Offload Rugby Media.
I'm Simeon from the TikTok Ref.
Guys, I'm Murray, also known as Blissful Rugby HQ.
And you're listening to the Rugby Connection podcast.
For the fans, by fans.
Hello, welcome to episode 7 of Review Thursday. This week we have Austin, also known as Box Memes. He's the first South African guest we've had on the show. Austin, how are you getting on?
I'm good, thanks man. Thanks for having me, guys.
You're very welcome. It was hard to get you. We were trying to get you last week because the Lions series just finishing, but I guess it's still fresh in the wound, so we could still discuss it heavily. So
yeah, I've been celebrating a bit too hard the past week, so
yeah, I've been having too many flashbacks, especially from Mr. Morney saying 12 years, same result, same man.
Couldn't write that,
yeah. No, you couldn't write. But I liked it because Alan Wynne-Jones also made his first tour against South Africa in 2009, so it's kind of full circle for two rugby greats. So yeah,
definitely. Alan Wynne-Jones, he's been around forever, and he's still playing like he's really young. So I don't think he's actually going to stop too soon.
No,
They're saying he's going to the World. Pivax has backed him to the end of the World Cup.
I'd like to see that. I hope he's still the next World Cup.
I'd like to see him finish with winning the World Cup. Personally,
it would be cool. It would be cool.
2033, you'll be captaining the Lions to go against South Africa again. But yeah,
anyone but England. So it's
yeah, there we go.
That's brilliant.
I'll start off with the first question. What actually got you into rugby as a whole?
So in South Africa, rugby is huge. It's the biggest sport here, and everyone watches the rugby, and so it's really popular here. So the first person who got me involved in rugby was my dad. He always used to love watching rugby, and he would teach me how to pass a ball when I was quite young. And I started playing rugby from when I was 7 years old in grade 1. 6-7 years, and I played throughout school, but then I stopped when I was in grade 12, so I haven't been playing for a few years now.
I like that. I like the fact that majority of our guests have all come from rugby families as well, which is pretty cool. Who was your favourite growing up? Because there's a few that stick in my mind growing up, but I feel like you're slightly older than me, perhaps. How old are you, Austin?
I'm 22.
Oh shit, I'm older. All right. So
how old are you?
I'm 23. So
okay, close enough.
So my South African heroes growing up were Morney Steyn, Brian Habana, Victor Matfield. I was a big fan of Percy Montgomery as well. Yeah,
my favorite was Brian Habana growing up. So he, which is strange because normally your favorite plays the same position as you, but I never played wing. I just really liked Brian Habana because you just stood out. But I think one of the biggest reasons was when I properly got into watching rugby was in the 2007 World Cup. I was still very young then, and he was one of the star players in the World Cup. So I got really into him. And he's also apparently a really nice guy in person. And I used to do all my school orals and school speeches on him. So he was definitely my favorite.
That's good. I mean, I'll agree with usually your favorite players like the same position. And I used to be a fullback, so Percy Montgomery was ticking all the boxes for me growing up. But
yeah, he's a legend.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all legends. They're all fantastic players as well. You just keep passing so many great players through. Even when you had the bad patch after the 2015 World Cup, you still had great players coming through. It's not even fair.
Yeah, I think but big thing is how the players are managed, obviously. So we had a lot of good players after the World Cup, but if they're not managed properly and if the game plan isn't good and the players aren't working well together, then it actually means nothing. But yeah, we definitely blessed in South Africa in the sense that we have a lot of depth, we have a lot of players, and I think the reason for that is the young rugby system is strong here. So schoolboy rugby in South Africa is really, really big. University rugby is very, very big here in South Africa. So I think those two things set a good foundation. So we're definitely lucky.
Yeah, definitely. There is some South Africans though that slip through your fingers, just like Duhan van der Merwe, and yeah, Scott. It only take more. Let's be honest. It only take more South Africans than anyone.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I mean, you have to. A lot of those guys, they go abroad because they may be worried about their chances of making the Springbok team. Because even though Duhan van der Merwe is a great player, I don't think he fit in the Springbok team so well. So just with the type of wings that we use.
Do you not want him and Colby or him and Mapimpi?
Yeah,
and Colby at fullback. Oh no, that's too dangerous.
Well, I mean, if Scotland offered him, I mean, I would take him. But
no, he's ours now. Can't get him back. No returns. We're up the receipt up.
No returns. Yeah.
Simeon, you got any questions for Austin?
Well, what was your view on the Lions as a whole, and potentially some referee decisions?
There we go. I told you he'd say it.
Wow. It really was a very memorable tour. I think it was but you know, there was a lot of like off the field stuff going on, which I actually think made it a bit better. I think it made it more memorable, and I found it very entertaining. Everything that was going on, the refereeing quality in World Rugby at the moment, I think, is very bad in general. But first game, I was angry. Then the third game, I understand why you guys were probably angry. So
third game, I wasn't annoyed. You know, I always said third game, I was quite happy with. It was the second game which pissed me off.
Yeah, I'm trying to even remember what happened in this. What were some of the big calls? Remind me.
Colby's tackle on Conor Murray in the air.
Yeah, okay,
and
yeah, that was
Faf
de Klerk being Faf de
shoulder
Klerk.
head charge.
Yeah. I think it was part of Russie's plan all along, which is why I released that video. He wanted to put pressure on the refs to sway our side, and I think it actually worked.
It worked. You didn't hear our episode where we were fuming all about it.
I think I must go back and watch it. But yeah, there was so much back and forth. I mean, I think it started when Warren Gatland made a comment about the TMO being South African. I think it started with that, and then Rassie decided to go back and say something else, and then it swayed the other way. But that type of stuff shouldn't influence the refereeing. I think there's serious problems with refereeing in general, and it's been coming for a long time. But what I understand is why the refs don't get disciplined is maybe a little bit of a harsh word, but it seems like there's never really any consequences when the refs mess up.
You know what? I've only ever seen it happen once or twice, and that's when they've really, really fucked up, and it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, it's frustrating. They don't necessarily have to, you know, be banned or anything, but just something so they're more accountable for their mistakes.
Yeah, I know. I think I agree with that. I think that's good at grassroots level. If you bugger up, I guess in Wales at least, in grassroots level, if you bugger up a bit, you won't have a good game for a while. Like you will. But when you see some of these international refs have a horrendous game or not do their best, and they're on another tier 1 game next week or this appointment.
But speaking of the second test, there were also quite a few big calls against us that were missed, like when Otoje was leaning on Damien Diandi's neck. I mean, the ref saw that on the big screen. He did nothing.
Oh yeah, no, I did say quite literally. I think on our episode after that second test, because I wrote like about a 6-page list of everything in the game, and I just went, I'd send half of both teams off at that point.
Yeah, it's the ref. The ref was just terrible, but he was also terrible in the first game. I don't think he was necessarily biased against us in the first game, but he was just bad. So there were also some calls against you guys in the first game.
Yeah, and I don't know why everyone was getting all hissy. I was like, there was a lot of stuff against the Lions in that game.
Yeah, it was just bad refereeing.
Yeah, absolutely. Austin, speaking of refereeing and Rassie Erasmus with that video, now in fairness, you've said it already, he is a bit of a genius the way he, why wouldn't a coach want to put pressure on the referee when it didn't go his way the week before? But what are your thoughts on World Rugby putting that investigation now into Rassie and the sanction? And what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's fair? Or?
I do understand where they're coming from. That I suppose they, in a sense, they want to protect kind of the dignity of their refs, but at the same time, I think there's not proper channels for coaches to speak out against mistakes in games, and I think to some extent they should have a right to speak out when there's serious problems that literally messes up the outcome. So I think I admire what he did because I think it might change things in the future, and it was a very brave thing that he did. So I was very happy when he did it because I'm hoping it will bring about change. And to me, look, it's maybe a little bit of a biased opinion because I'm South African, but I think to me it feels a little extreme that they want to sue him. I don't think they have to go that far. But what's your guys' thoughts?
Oh, Sean went on a big rant on that one, on that episode only.
Oh God, sure, yes, Sean.
Yeah, no, I just wasn't too happy that the fact that he kind of went out against the referee. I think his points were absolutely valid. Like, I think they were valid, and everything he pointed out was true. But it kind of felt like, he was attacking the ref, which wasn't kind of fair because obviously the referee is a human and he makes mistakes. But I also do see your point where if there's issues, the referee has to, or the coach, sorry, Razzie Erasmus can, put his side on things, if you get me. But I feel like he could have waited till maybe after the series, but I get the fact that if he waited and South Africa had already lost, it wouldn't have changed anything. I get he had to do it there and then. If he didn't do it, it basically kind of would have been pointless for South Africa. It would have just been him, trying to slate, get things, make changes, you said. But those are my thoughts on it. But yeah, it's a tricky one.
I think the ref kind of was like stuck in the middle because I think he was more trying to send a message to World Rugby maybe. And look, he was also trying to sway the refs to their side, obviously, as well. But I think the ref was just caught in a bad place at a bad time. Just the timing was wrong. But yeah, I understand because it's not like the refs are trying to be unfair. I think they just maybe the moment... it's a high pressure situation, and maybe they just don't think clearly sometimes.
Trust me, like I've referee a lot. Like I'm constantly like I'll put my hands up when I've had a bad game, and it's like you don't on purposely go out and go, I'm going to be a twat today. I'm going to go be shit. You just kind of get there, and some days your head's not in it, and it's like international rugby, but. He just had an off day. I just think it was, so I think it is a hard one, isn't it?
No, it is. Yeah. So, but I would, again, like I said earlier, it would be nice if they could make the refs accountable in some way. And they don't have to punish them, but just there should be some sort of system for that.
No,
yeah, I agree with that. That's not too much to ask for us. The players get fined for being red carded or disciplined, and the referee should be in the same boat. But more to club rugby in South Africa now. How do you feel about the South African teams joining up with the Pro 14 clubs and making the United Rugby Championship?
I'm actually not too excited about it. There's many things that are nice about it, but for me it's frustrating to see. It's going to be frustrating to watch for me because when we were in Super Rugby, the teams we were playing against, so the Australian teams and the New Zealand teams, they had similar kind of issues to us. And the biggest problem that we face is losing players to Northern Hemisphere teams because our currency is worth less and there's more money in the north in the Northern Hemisphere leagues with the Champions Cup and all of that. But when we play like New Zealand, Australian teams, they were going through the same thing. They were also losing players abroad. I think South Africa were probably suffering at the worst, but it was more even. But it's going to be very frustrating for me watching like this. I'm in Cape Town, so I support the Stormers. So it's going to be very frustrating watching the Stormers play against like Munster and then seeing Demi Dialendi, who's the Stormers boy, playing against my team, So that's quite frustrating for me. So I think I'm going to struggle to watch a bit. But at the same time, it's really nice in the sense that I think we will get more money out of it, especially if we can eventually join the Champions Cup and those things. That would be nice. But it probably is better than staying in Super Rugby because I think Super Rugby's dying. I don't think there's much of a future there.
That's fair. Just sticking with the Northern Hemisphere theme, really. Do you think? Because obviously I'm a Scottish supporter, and we've only got 2 professional clubs, and I always say it benefits the national team when like Shoothog and Duhan van der Merwe go down to England in the Premiership or across to France in the top 14, like Finn Russell. Do you feel that's the same? Because obviously, like Sale Sharks has Faf de Klerk, the Dupree brothers, Diego. I think just the whole South African team really. Sale Sharks has. But do you get a benefit out of South African players playing in Premiership teams and all that, or do you prefer them being back? They're better at.
It's definitely better for the Springboks. Definitely, it boosts the Springboks and makes Springboks stronger because they learn different ways of playing, and they learn about the opposition a lot better, and they learn how to play in different conditions. So, I mean, Faf de Klerk, for example, he was a decent scrum half when he played for the Lions, but when he went to Sale Sharks, he became world class, and then he obviously now is playing for the Springboks and he's doing amazingly. And there's a lot of examples of guys that. So I think for the Springboks it's great, but for the domestic game, it's killing our domestic game. It's really bad, and our domestic game is not good at the moment in South Africa because of that. So there's pros and cons. It's a tough situation.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't really argue with that. We're kind of because we've only got you've brought more than 4 pro clubs, haven't you? Because you had. Like the Cheetahs and all that, are they still? They kind of they were in the Pro 14 when it became 14, and they brought the Southern Kings across because I heard that Super Rugby didn't want them, and now the URC's a thing, and it's Lions, Stormers, Sharks, and the Bulls, and yet Cheetahs and Southern Kings aren't to be seen. So I'm like, we just didn't want them either now, or
it's just because I think there's not enough space for. The teams. So there's 6 franchise teams, and they can't fit everyone in, so they're just giving preference to the 4 that you just mentioned, which is very unfair to the Cheetahs and the Kings, especially the Cheetahs, because they were doing decently at the time
they got to the quarterfinals in the season, didn't they? Yeah. But, I mean, the Southern Kings were. I mean, it took them 2 years to win an away game. I think of the Ospreys, but they were horrendous.
Absolutely, but I mean, they had no money. They were literally using very low class players, unfortunately. So it's tough for them. The Cheetahs as well, losing a lot of players. It's really tough for the South African teams. You lose players every year because you have to start all over again with new guys. But I actually have a question for you guys who wouldn't mind asking. Is it not frustrating? Like if I'm a team like Edinburgh, right?
Oh, God.
Scotland only has 2 national teams, provincial like unions, and obviously there's very limited spots for young Scottish players who want to make it pro. But then they bring in a lot of foreign-born players like South Africans. There's a lot of South Africans in Edinburgh. Do you guys not think it's unfair on the young Scottish players losing so many positions?
So I'm in the Scottish fan forum on social media, and I didn't realise just how bitter Scottish fans are. Like we've not been world champions of that, so I don't get where this ego from certain fans come from. I'm not one. I'm very realistic. I'll have a joke with like the other 2, like, oh, we're going to beat Wales or we're going to beat Ireland, stuff like that. Just little banner. Like even I joked with you during the Lions here. Oh, we're going to win. You can come cry on the show and all that. But it's just like all banner that. But I am a realistic fan. Like, are Edinburgh a great team? Not in like overall, no, not really. Would I want to see them compete? Obviously, yeah, it's my team, but I don't think it's as frustrating as some people make out. Like people got really annoyed with Duhan van der Merwe specifically because he signed to Edinburgh. He was here for 3 years. He got his cap for Scotland through the residency rule, and now he's away down to Worcester Warriors.
Yeah,
people are like, oh, he's used Edinburgh to get residency. No, he's not. Because, and this is my argument, and you could be the same, because if you had like an English player come through and play for South Africa, for example, if they were to score the winning try or drop goal or penalty or conversion to win like a World Cup, nobody would care where they're from. And that's been my argument with this. Like, you could bitch and moan, oh, he wasn't good enough for South Africa, and he's only here because there was no one else, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, if he scores the winning try for his position, if he scores a winning try in like the Six Nations or the World Cup or whatever, or even the Lions series, nobody would care that he's South African. He's one of us. He's the hero. So, and asking about you're asking about a younger Scottish talent. If you've ever listened to the show, I've been banging on about a good 10 youthful players coming
It's
through
all
the
he
ranks.
does.
Thank you. Just all at once, there's like 10 very strong youthful players coming through, and it hasn't stopped them. So I think if you are good enough, regardless if you're Scottish born, Welsh, Irish, English, Italian, South African, Tongan, if you're good enough, you will play for that country. If you're not, you then do look like. I mean, the best export, I think, from South Africa is CJ Stander. He told he wasn't good enough, went to Munster, took a big shot in 50 caps for Ireland, and he's down as like a cult hero. So
Yeah.
it just depends on preference. I think the older generation want fresh out of high school, Scottish born, playing for the Scotland team sort of thing. But that's not the world we live in now.
I think it's quite good because obviously, like Edinburgh, I'll go with the Edinburgh example as well because that's who I support. I remember in the Ulster games towards the end of the season, and like loads of the Scottish boys were away or they were injured or whatever, and you got the new youthful squad, and they were very good. And it's like now Edinburgh's bringing in a load of Argentinians, and it's like, if I was like a young player, I would love to learn from the likes of Dele or whoever. I'd love to learn from a foreign player and learn these different things. I think it's great. I personally agree with it because if you can get a good mix of young, homebred, and experienced other internationals, you're going to get a great mix.
No, it makes sense.
I think it's because, like, I mean, what people forget to realise, especially with Duhan van der Merwe, I think he's just a big talking point now because he's like very high profile now. He was part of the under-20s World Cup squad with like Sir Jesse Creel and Cheslin Colby and all that, and he was meant to go on the Seventh Circuit with Colby, and he never done it. So, I mean, like there was the opportunity for Duhan to be capped there, and just never happened because I think he wanted to try things his way and maybe speed up the process. But yeah, it is a tricky one. I do get where you're coming from. There is actually one player he was Scotland born, but his name was made in South Africa and Stormers as well. Is Hugh Jones?
Hugh Jones, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so good.
Player. Yeah, he's very well liked here. He's very well liked locally in Cape Town.
I used to have big arguments like on the train towards Murrayfield because again, like the older generations trying to be sarcastic, like, "Oh, where's this player from?" Like thinking he's through residency. And there was one that came up like, "Oh, and what part of Scotland is Hugh Jones from?" I'm like, "Edinburgh." Like he's born in Edinburgh. Just because he was educated and made a name for himself in South Africa doesn't mean he's South African.
He's also got the Welshest name in the world.
Yeah, Huw Jones. Yeah, it doesn't even spell Hugh. And like then somebody was like, "Oh, but Tom Seymour's at the time like, oh, Tommy Seymour's Scottish." No, he's not. He's American. He's from Texas. So like they don't even know the facts, and then they're trying to.
Sean Maitland's New Zealander.
He's one of us.
I just remember when I used to play rugby at 8, like all the Welsh players were called Jones. There were like 5 in the team at once.
They're not all related though, are they?
Huh?
They're not all related though, are they?
No, the only 2 related players in the Welsh squad, or recent Welsh squad, are James Davis and Jonathan Davis.
The rest happen to have the same
They
surname.
just all Jones, Davises, and Williams. This is how Wales work. Like in schools, everyone's just called Jones, Davis, and Williams, or Thomas. Everyone.
Thomas.
No, we've also got quite a lot of common surnames here. Stain's quite a big one. Mornay Stain, France Stain, Bram Stain, who plays for Italy.
There you go. See,
isn't there a Stain up in Scotland, in Glasgow?
Probably is.
Probably. Van der Merwe seems quite popular as well. Like so, Duhan, DTH. There's a Van der Merwe that was playing against the British and Irish Lions on the tour, I think, for the Sharks. Or
Flip van der Merwe used to play for the Springboks a few years ago.
And none of them are related.
Nah.
The only Van der Merwe's that are related are Acker and Duhan.
Yeah. And the Dupree. Dupree's a big one as well.
Dupree, Duplessis used to be a big one, didn't it?
Yeah, but the two were brothers, Yanni and
Yeah,
Bismarck.
Bismarck and Yanni were brothers. Yeah.
But what are your guys' thoughts on the performances of the Springboks and Lions? Specifically the Lions. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about how your team actually performed.
Well, my unpopular opinion is that Marcus Smith should have started the first 2 tests, and then Finn Russell, because he was back fit, should have started the last, so the Lions would play quick rugby. Because as soon as the Lions started to play that quick rugby in the first test, South Africa got caught out.
Yeah.
Completely caught out.
I think
we should have had high ball specialists from the start.
Finn Russell was scary. Finn Russell, when he came on in that third test, he was scary. He was playing really well.
Yeah, Finn goes by his own rules. So if you've ever seen fresh out of after the third test, he was like, "Yeah." As soon as I came on, the game plan was ripped up. I was like, "Okay."
He literally just went on that pitch, went, "Fuck it."
Yeah, but that's how Finn works, and that's That's the last F-bomb for that episode, so man.
You have to beep it out every time.
We did it. We tried and get one in that episode 9 when we were running after the second test. I said one very early on. I was like, right, cool, that's it. There you've got it. Then we have a referee discussion because Simeon's a referee, so he does all what should have happened or how he would have done it over the weekend's games, and he dropped 3 in that section alone. I was like, oh god,
you've reached the limit. Your podcast age restriction is going to go up a level if you drop to me.
I think for me with the Lions, the Lions probably really didn't. The players didn't really match to the game plan in a way. They had a good crack at it, in fairness, and obviously hindsight is a great thing, but unfortunately, just the attack especially wasn't up to the standard. From a South African looking in, what did you think of the Lions? Were you very scared of the Lions after that first test loss, or did you know that we're gonna win?
No, I was nervous. I was leading up to the tour. I was nervous because the Springboks had such a little time to prepare, so I was very nervous about that. And the first test, I was even more nervous after we lost the first test because the Lions, you guys had a lot of, even after the second test, I wasn't too comfortable because you guys had a lot of really good moments and a lot of good phases. And it felt like when you started to get a few phases going, then you were extremely dangerous, especially out wide. So it really just came down to 3 points at the end of the day. That's how close it was. But obviously, it's disappointing for you guys, and it would have been very disappointing for me too. But I think it was nice that it was so close and so exciting. A lot of people are saying the game was boring, but I really, really found it fascinating and very strategic and physical, and I loved watching the games.
Yeah, that's fair. Who would you say was your favourite Lion on the whole tour? Who really impressed you the most? I'll let you pick 5. We'll be nice about it.
Living generous.
5, sure.
If you could think of 5, we'll go 3 then.
Itoje was good, especially in the first test. He was very good.
Yeah.
And then Finn Russ really impressed me the little bit that he played. Dan Bigger I thought was decent as well. He missed a few kicks early on, but he came right quickly. Who else was decent? I can't even remember.
No one.
Alan Wynne-Jones.
Alan Wynne-Jones. No, he's a good captain. He's a very good captain. He's probably a better captain than Sia in many ways because he knows how to talk to the ref. So he impressed me in that sense, just in terms of his leadership.
I think one more player that really stands out is Ali Price. Not Scottish bias, just out of the scrum halves.
Yeah.
Ali Price was the best scrum half on that tour. Other than Faf, but I had my Faf rant on episode 9 when we recorded.
Yeah, with the shoulder charge.
I thought Ryan was great in that last test.
I love Cobus Reinach, yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
He's a very good player. Yeah, he played again on Saturday against Argentina. He's a top player.
Yeah, I obviously South Africa. You just mentioned there. Obviously, South Africa had a good win against Argentina, and it was pretty. I believe there was a lot of changes since that third test against the Lions. How is the kind of young blood for South Africa in terms of squad depth? How's that looking as you build towards the 2023 Rugby World Cup?
Oh, it's looking very good. I think the coaches really have a good balance every game of they know when to give new guys a chance. And I think they're choosing the moments very, very well. Like they gave quite a few guys a chance in the Georgia game. And then they gave a lot of guys a chance now in this game. So I think it's really good. And it's a nice mix of experience because there's a lot of old guys there. Fontaine, who's been there since 2006, 2005, long time. And then you've also got a lot of young players. Yeah, he's been around forever, and I think he's only 34.
I love it.
Morney's older than him.
Yeah, he is.
I love France Dane just because he kicks it from anywhere. I just love watching videos on YouTube of him just kicking because it just goes miles, doesn't it?
Yeah, he can't really do it like he used to though. He had 2 long kicks on Saturday and he missed both. So he's not quite where he used to be. But yeah, I agree with you, especially back then, because back then, I think it's more common nowadays to kick from 50 meters. It's the Flavs, most Flavs can do it now, but back then he was one of the few that actually could do it.
Yeah,
I don't know what they feed their kickers down in the Southern Hemisphere. South Africa and New Zealand especially, like, oh, we're 63 meters out. Yeah, go for a goal. I'm sorry. No, why?
Yeah, I think that because where we play most of our tests in Joburg and Pretoria, we call it the high veld. So it's higher above sea level, so the ball travels very far. And when the guys kick there, it's something else. It looks like it can go over the stadium.
So they're cheating then. They're not come down to a low level, how much on the sea, and see how far you can kick it. There you go. There's a secret. South Africans aren't actually as good as kicking as it looks on TV. They're just very high up. There you go. Secrets out now.
Yeah.
I got asked this. Sorry, Sean. I got asked this question quite a lot during the tour. I know the tour's finished, but I'll still ask it anyway, just for fun. If you could have picked one British and Irish Lion, doesn't have to be the best player, just one you think would benefit the South African squad, who would you have had and why? I picked Morney State because of the experience he had. I didn't realise he was going to be the Lion Slayer again, but yeah, I always said more. I think because when we drafted in Marcus Smith, I was like, who better to learn international rugby than from Morney State, who's been there, done that, got the T-shirt twice. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So who would you have had to help?
Definitely one of your loose forwards, because we were struggling a lot with injuries with the loose forwards. So I think we would have definitely benefited nicely from one of you guys. Maybe even like Duan van der Merwe, we would have been able to use nicely.
You could have had him, but you like, no, I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, he moved when he was too young.
Yeah. Hamish Watson in a Springbok jersey would have been interesting.
It would have. Yeah, definitely. Even Alan Wynne-Jones would have been quite nice to have in the team.
Him and Etzebeth.
Yeah, we need him. If we didn't have Eben, I think we would actually, it would throw us off quite a lot, because we rely on our physicality. And I don't know if you guys saw, I thought it was the funniest thing ever. He went straight for a Toje in every single fight in that match. I thought it was the funniest thing ever. So he really plays that role well.
I thought Etzebeth, I thought he, like, for a few years now, I thought he'd been a bit quiet, and then this whole Lions tour, I'm like, oh no, he's there. He's very much present.
He's a hard worker, and he played again Saturday. He's played 4 weekends in a row now. He doesn't get injured often. He plays the whole game. He doesn't get subbed. And he plays so hard that he's a beast.
Yeah. I'll never forget the story of Eben Etzebeth walking into a local gym, asking the heaviest dumbbell, 75 kilos, nah, it's too light, and walks away. I'm like, sorry. The fact that you're thinking that's too light, and I can't even lift that I can't even lift that with 2 hands. So, yeah, fair play.
He's a monster, and that's from many years ago when he was starting out in his career.
He's a terrifying man.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. I remember hearing from somewhere, obviously, that there was some rumors or story that whatever gym or whatever it was that he was going to, that they had to import new weights or something because they were too light for Eben Etzebeth or something like that.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's true. That story was going around, as well. It's funny they had reached so far all the way from the UK.
Just when you were talking about the Eben Etzebeth going from Alra to you there, Austin. We discussed it the other day, just how funny it was. Like even Etzebeth is like what 6'8", definitely got the arms, and he's a big lad. And then there's Faf de Klerk barking at the side of him like a chihuahua. I'm like, go away! Eben does not need backup, especially from you. Like, away you go.
Exactly. No, I think that's might just be a scrum off thing, eh? They speak the most.
I always say if that test was played 50 years ago, Alan Wynne-Jones would have just sparked Faf de Klerk out within the first few minutes of the first test. Like he wouldn't be playing anymore.
I'm grateful he was protected there because he's a small guy, and Ches and Colby, he's a small guy as well. So, luckily we have the laws protecting us.
Yeah, Sean, you had a question. You had something for Austin.
Yeah, so it's last question for me, Austin, for the day. But what is your favourite ever rugby memory?
I would actually say the 2007 World Cup final. That's the best memory for me. Obviously, the 2019 final, I think, was more special in the sense that no one was expecting us to be favourites in that World Cup, so that was great. But the 2007 final was very special for me because it was just the age I was at when I was only playing rugby. I was only in grade 3 then, and I fell in love with rugby then, and I think that moment made me really passionate about the Springboks. And I remember it very vividly, watching it with my family and some friends. So that moment definitely stands out for me.
Good memory. I like that. Yeah. Funny enough, 2 World Cup wins, both against England.
Yeah.
Last one for me. Just who would you say is the current player for South Africa to watch, apart from like Pierre Steph because obviously he's like a former world player, like best up and comer we'll go for to watch out for?
I think
for Scotland.
For Scotland, please no. I think Fati is a big one. I don't know if you guys know of him. He only played 1 game against Georgia, and then he played against. But I think Willie Leroux's doesn't have much time left playing for the Springboks. So I think someone like Fasi, who's playing really well, he could replace Willie very well in that role. Another guy, I think. I have to think about that one a little bit more. Yeah,
that's fine. Obviously, Scotland are against South Africa in the autumn tests. I will be there.
I'll be in Edinburgh, absolutely out of my head.
There you go. Why not come across? I don't know how travel and all that's restricted yet in South Africa, but once it's all green light and open, fire across to Scotland and we'll all have a good old drink.
Yeah, I've always wanted to come to Scotland because that's where my heritage is from. So
I was going to say my name. You can play for Scotland.
Yeah, I could maybe get a passport somewhere. So yeah, I've always wanted to come to Scotland. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to come over someday.
Yeah, that's class. Obviously, I'd love to go to South Africa as well, just because it's like a really beautiful country. So I did want to go to this tour, obviously, but cost far too much. I think to follow it, because you get a package where you could follow the team like in a normal tour. So you go each city, each game, and it was like £7,000 per person. I'm like, no, thank you.
Sure. No,
but the thing is, though, if you look at that, I bet you that was actually a good deal. Considering
probably
9 games, and flights and accommodation.
Just
imagine for us trying to come there, where our rand, our currency is so weak. It's almost 20 of our rands for £1. So imagine how expensive it is for us to go there.
I was going to mention that because your link on your TikTok page for the jerseys you buy, I really want the Sharks Black Panther jersey. I've always wanted it. It's so hard to get over here. I found it on, I think it was actually on the Sharks website, and it's like 600. And I'm like, how much is that? £20. I'm like, No, that can't be right.
Yeah, how much would it cost for a jersey there? Pounds.
What, like a proper
I've-
like supporters jersey?
Yeah.
70 quid, 60, 70
Yeah,
quid.
this
Yo,
this
so
one.
you're saving a lot of money.
Yeah, this one, like the one you've got on from the 21 tour, was I think it was £80.
£80.
£80, but
That's
I paid it
fair.
up. I paid it up over 3 months. I'm smart that way.
That would be about £25 here, more or less.
Bloody hell!
Austin, you're sending us rugby tops. I don't mind. I don't mind sending you money for it, but
No, definitely. No, that's it's nice for you guys. You must come here on holiday. You can buy everything for so cheap.
yeah, why not? I've got the missus and the little boy. He'll love animals. Yeah.
I was going to say, what if you took the Rugby Connection podcast to South Africa?
We're doing it. We're going to go on tour. I don't know where. I don't know when.
Lads on tour. Oh,
lads.
I would love to see that. Just come to Cape Town. Cape Town's the biggest spot for tourists, and there's the most to do. So definitely come this side if you do.
Okay.
Yeah, well, obviously we'd keep in touch with you anyway because you're the same like age as us, and I'm still the oldest.
I'm the baby.
How old are you, Sean and Simeon?
I'm 20 anyway, Simeon.
I'm 18, so I'm just going into uni.
Okay, nice. I just finished uni, so I'm just out of that phase. So you must enjoy it while you last. It's fun.
I know I'm going up to Edinburgh for uni, so I'm just by Murray.
Yay, lucky
Awesome.
me. Genuinely about 45 minutes drive away from where I'm based. So,
do you live a 20-minute walk from Murrayfield? No, I do.
No, but do you know how to get to Murrayfield? Like,
yeah, I've worked it out.
Without getting lost or asking for help or following anyone. If you just get off and go.
I reckon I could do it.
We'll see. We'll find out in October.
Simeon, do you have a last question for Austin?
No, I'm all grand.
All right. Yeah, sure. Austin, thanks a million for coming on to the podcast. Really appreciate it. You've been great fun all day.
Yes, thanks so much for having me, guys. Awesome chat. It's always nice to get a different perspective from guys from a different country. So thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. You're our first South African guest. We don't have any certificate or trophy for that, but we can always cherish that one.
Always be the first.
Yes, always remember your first. There you go. I say this to every guest. It feels a bit vague, but I do genuinely mean it. Like, you are honestly welcome back anytime.
Cool.
And
thank you.
Especially with the United Rugby Championship going into full swing whenever fixtures are released. I don't understand how there's no fixtures yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll hopefully get you back on down the line and just chat a bit further, and even after the autumn test, because South Africa's over here. So yeah, that'll be good.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
And if people want to follow you, where do they go? Are you on Instagram, YouTube, or I know we're on TikTok and all that.
I think Instagram, just at Bok. No, I changed my username. It's Bok Memes _ Bok Memes _
Bok Memes.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of biased South African rugby stuff there. So
Brilliant.
if you find that interesting, then head over there.
Anywhere else we could find you, or is it just Instagram, preferably?
Yeah, I think Instagram's the main one.
Just Instagram, that's fine. Well, there you go. There's episode 7 of Interview Thursday. I'm saying Thursday. I know it sounds confusing to Austin because we're recording on the Sunday, but we always put the episode out on the Thursday on YouTube and Spotify and other streaming services. So that's why it's called Interview Thursday. That's the big secret there. But honestly, mate, thank you for coming on. Great crack and just a lot of fun. Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Thank you, eh?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.